To continue our work with the martial powers development system right now. Give me a hot second here for me to check my signal, make sure we're up and running. I'm looking at doing an hour or so, hopefully. Make sure we're up and running. That sounds pretty clean. If you follow me on Twitter, I've just posted that I'm live on Twitter, so if you want to catch all my streams, be welcome to follow me at Phil Kearney on Twitter. I'm going to take another moment here to boost my signal across the Discords, get stuff up and running. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Phil Kearney. I am an artist and a content producer for role-playing games. Primarily has been D&D 5e for a number of years now, and I've got a couple more projects still lined up in 5e before I branch out and start doing something different. So you're going to see me here for the rest of the year doing DMsGuild stuff, and there's a link down below that leads you to the DMsGuild, showing you a bunch of the content that I have produced in the past couple years. It's a 5-color mana spell point variant rules, which plays really nicely with MTG settings. And so that is my primary focus. The martial power system was originally something that we started to develop to give martial classes an option to have, like, Gruul, for instance, isn't very magic, or Rakdos might not necessarily be very magic focused, but a barbarian isn't magic focused, and a fighter isn't necessarily very magic focused. But magic and mana is everything in the Ravnica setting. So we wanted to build something that would allow all 13 classes to have equal use of mana if you're going into Strixhaven, Curriculum of Chaos, or Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica setting, or the what's the other word I'm looking for? It equals Theros. Thank you. The Mythic Odysseys of Theros. So we've been building this martial powers system for the past, we're on week number 42 now. So we're coming up to a year of development. We've been playtesting it on my home table, and we're now level 17. We've been testing it since level 11, so it's sitting pretty. What we've been doing for the past couple weeks, in case you hadn't been around, is we've been taking archetypes from the DMsGuild, or not DMsGuild, from the rogue. We've been taking archetypes from different classes and then rebuilding them into power systems using the different powers that we have. Boy, I'm off to a rough start today, guys. We have a list of 150 some odd powers in this playtest document that we produced, and we've left the archetype subclasses alone for the most part, for the ranger, for the paladin, for the monk. But we are providing an alternate subclass, kind of like the Eldritch Knight, for the fighter, the rogue, and the barbarian, for them to have access to this list of powers, kind of like how a ranger has access to a spell list that he can cast from, or a paladin can cast from, or a wizard, etc. But instead we're offering these martial powers, which are not something that casters learn. Well, full casters like sorcerers, wizards, clerics, druids, bards, they don't learn these things. But the half-casters do, rangers and paladins. Artificers can learn them as infusions, that they can put powers into objects and then use those objects to channel power. And warlocks can trade invocations to learn powers and use their packed mana from the Warlock spell point variant rules that we have on the DMsGuild in that bundle down below. You can check it out for free. 100%. You can read it cover to cover. You can read all my books cover to cover. You can see all the artwork. You can see all the mechanics. If you want to take time taking a look at the 5-color mana spell point variant rules that I have in the book, either the Eldritch Knight, like the Knights and Tricksters, the Universal Spell Points, the Spell Point Warlocks, Elemental Key, or the Core Mechanics book itself. All those books have a consistent common mana language where you're spending 1 point of mana for level of spell. So we created 150 some odd powers here for martial characters that when they spend a point of mana, they do a thing. Kind of like how the Battle Master for the fighter has a stack of superiority dice, and whenever you spend a die, you can use a maneuver, a Battle Master maneuver. Well, we have about 150 of them in here. This is the playtest document here, If you check my Patreon link down below, it will lead you from that About page at no cost to this playtest document. You can run characters, any level of character, multi-class them, blend them together, mix them with spellcasters, all you want. All the spellcasting resources are already live there for you on DMsGuild to just thumb through and play a campaign with. This playtest content is up and running for you guys as well, and you can build characters from level 1 to 20, run them at any level. They just drop into your campaign. Nothing inside of this system is out-curving in stats. What the Paladin can do, what the Bard can do, what an Artificer can do. Like the scaling smite damage is on par or weaker than what the Paladin does. The bonuses you gain to ability checks or die rolls is equal to or worse than what the Bard or the Battle Master would provide. But what it does provide is a crap load of versatility for you. Each level you can purchase. You get your powers per level. And I ran through the spiel before, but I'll just spiel at you again for a second. From level 1 to 20, you get 15 powers, which is on pace with a 20 Charisma Paladin granting you 15 spells that you can prepare per day. These are learned per level. So each level you can swap out your entire kit of martial powers to serve a different role in the party. You could start off as a face of the party and lean into using a lot of powers that give you bonuses to like diplomacy, insight, negotiation, ability checks. Later on, as the team evolves, maybe you want to get more focused on assassination stuff. So you start focusing your powers into dealing higher amounts of damage and getting better precision and disadvantaging targets that survive the initial hit, gaining advantage on initiative rolls or being able to attack before initiative. Different powers that we have inside the system that lets you manipulate how 5e combat works and the numbers that you roll during combat or exploration or social pillaring challenges, so that you can have your mana working for you in the way that you want mana to work for that specific character. Like Adept Craftsman, when making an ability check that can use tools you're proficient with, you roll 1 power die per mana channeled, adding the highest roll to your result. So if you're a 6th level character, your max rank of power is 2. You're rolling a d6 power die. So if you spent 2 mana, you could roll 2 6-sided die. And in this instance, like if you were like say using Thieves Picks, you'd be able to make your normal ability check, spend 2 mana, spend 2d6 dice, and whichever die roll on that d6 is higher, you would add that as though it were an inspiration point from a bard to the result of your tool check. So you'll be able to continue as your character ramps up in power. By the time you get to 17th level, you'll be able to channel up to 5 mana at a time, and the die roll that you're going to make on these things are d10s. So for some crazy reason, you wanted to dump 5 mana into a lock-picking check with your Thieves tools, you'd make your normal, at 17th level, assuming you're a rogue, and you have expertise in picking locks with your picking tools, you're probably going to be clocking in somewhere around a 15 to your die roll off the bat, plus your d20, and then we throw in our martial power on top for the Adept Craftsman. You could spend up to 5 mana rolling 5 10-sided dice, taking the best results of those dice. So you could potentially get an extra 10 kicker on it. But you might only need to spend 1 or 2 mana for you to likely get that +4 or more bonus that you might want. The more dice you throw, the more likely it is that you're going to get closer to a 10, but it's going to cost you mana, of course, to do it. So, and then there's all sorts of other stuff in here that we can do to manipulate stuff, like what's a good one? Master Burglar. When making an ability check that uses Thieves tools, you can roll a power die per mana channel, adding the best result to your die result. That's generally a good one, like we just described. But there's also Swift tools. If you're using a tool that you can hold in one hand, would normally require an action, you can instead use that tool as an object interaction. So as part of your combat sequence, you can pull out Thieves tools, pick a lock, and then get back to work and killing stuff, like by spending a point of mana doing that. And then you can do things like what's something that's powered up. Let's see, Swift Attunement, which is you can use an object interaction to attune to a magic item that you're holding. It costs 3 mana to do that, but you pick up a magic wand and you spend 3 mana, and then bam, you're attuned to that magic wand and you can blast somebody with it, for instance. So these are the type of things that we can do. Those are just skill modifiers. We have actual maneuvers, which you can either use an action or a bonus action, or twice in a round as an action and a bonus action. You can do 2 maneuvers during the same turn. You can do things like Shunt, which is creatures you choose within 10 feet of you make a strength saving throw against your channeling saving throw DC, or are pushed 5 feet for every point of mana that you burned in the direction of your choice. So that could be, like, for instance, within 10 feet of you. Let's say you spend 4 mana. It's a second rank power, so it's going to cost you at least 2 mana to channel the power. But let's say you put 4 mana into it. It says creatures that I choose within 10 feet of me. So let's say there's 3 enemies within 10 feet of me. Let's see, creatures you choose within 10 creatures. Creatures that are size large or smaller that you choose within 10 feet of you make a saving throw, make a strength save, or are pushed 5 feet per mana. So if I'm going to spend 4 mana in this effort, say there's 3 creatures of medium size nearby me, I could choose those 3 creatures, and I could shunt if they fail their strength saving throw against my my channel DC, which is it's like DC 8 plus my channeling stat plus my proficiency bonus. So like I'd have to be 13th level to channel 4 mana. So that would mean I'd have a +4 on my proficiency bonus, and let's say strength is my primary stat. That would be, say, another 4, so it's going to be 8 plus the DC 8, that's a 16. Let's say I'm doing this as a barbarian, and I'm raging, so I get a +3 bonus to my rage. That DC is now a DC 19. So it's a strength save DC 19, and if they fail, they get pushed 20 feet, 4 times 5. It's 10 feet. Within 10 feet, blah, 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 push 5 feet per mana. Within 10 feet of you are pushed 5 feet per mana burn. So that's 4 mana that I spent. That's 20 feet. Those 3 targets, I could say shunt them up. So they get launched 20 feet in the air, and then of course they fall back down. So they'll take an extra, they'll take 2d6 damage from the fall. But I could have pushed them to the left, potentially off of a cliff. I could have pushed them to the right, potentially into a pile of summoned dogs. Who knows? But I'd have 20 feet worth of shunt that I could push those characters one way, another to me, away from me, wherever I want to send them. That could be an action, for instance. And then as a bonus action, I could say trigger 3 mana for Flicker Pounce, which is I then can teleport up to 30 feet to a space within 5 feet of a creature that I can see, and then make a weapon attack against it. And if the attack succeeds, I can choose to then teleport back to my original position. And if the attack fails, I don't teleport. So I could shunt people with an action 20 feet that way, maybe into like a wall of spikes. I could then spend 3 mana to Flicker Pounce over to them. I could teleport to their location, stab them, and if I successfully hit, I could then flicker back to my previous location. And that's my action, my bonus action, and then I still have my movement left over, and I have my reaction. So that's how like maneuvers work. If I were to hit with that, dagger strike, I could then choose to channel a strike through that attack. And hold on real quick. Stolen Fate, punishing, interposing, control fall. Great. So we go to strikes. Let's say, so we're talking 4 mana, 13th level. That means I can channel up the 4th rank powers. Let's look at some good stuff like paralyzing strike. Your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. So at 13th level, I'm throwing around a D8, so it'd be 4d8 damage. So paralyzing strike, I hit with my dagger. Say I'm a rogue, and I'm going to do sneak attack damage in this instance. So I would then be dealing 13, 6. It'd be 66 bonus damage from the sneak attack, and then I put 4 mana into the paralyzing strike. It would then be like a smite, an extra 4d8 damage that I would deal on top of that strike. And then the opponent has to make a wisdom saving throw, or they are paralyzed. And they can attempt to end the paralysis at the beginning of each of their turns by succeeding a wisdom or a saving throw. At which point, I could then use a reaction. Let's see, what's a good reaction that I would have access to? So that was another 4 mana, so far I've spent 9 mana this round. And then we can... attack, still a fate. Should you see within 30 feet? One's own luck. Moving target. As a reaction to when a creature you can see moves while within reach of your melee attack, you can make an opportunity attack, even if the target is using this engage action, rolling 1 power die. When as a reaction when a creature you can see, it has to move itself. Never mind. Let's see. Punish. As a reaction to an enemy that you can see within range of your weapon attack, misses an attack roll. That's not it. Deflection. Controlled fall. Downtrodden. Downtrodden. As a reaction to an enemy you can see within range of your weapon attack, becomes prone. You can make an attack at advantage. Ooh, that's downtrodden. Okay, so instead of doing a paralyzing strike, let's just do a tripping strike instead. Hold on. Let's go look at that. Tripping strike. It's a 1 mana. When you use the strike power, you can knock a creature up to one size larger than you or smaller prone. So we did the shunt to push the guy. We did the flickering strike. When we use the flickering strike and we hit with our sneak attack, we then use a tripping strike to amp up the damage. We say spend 4 damage on that. We'll do an extra 48 damage. And then we get to trip the guy. So if he fails his saving throw, he gets knocked prone. And if he gets knocked prone, we can then use downtrodden to trigger our own reaction. And then so downtrodden is as a reaction when an enemy you can see within range of your weapon attack becomes prone, you can make an attack at advantage and add 1 power die to the attack roll. So I would then make an attack roll. I'd get an extra D8 bonus to the attack roll. I already used, if I hadn't used sneak attack already this round, I could now use it as this reaction when I hit that guy when he falls down from my own attack. I could trip him, and that would then trigger a reaction, which gives me advantage on the saving throw, which I can then use during my turn as a reaction, as a rogue, to get sneak attack. You can only sneak attack once per turn. So I could flicker teleport to that guy, hit him, knock him down, use a reaction to then downtrodden, strike him again, to then trigger another strike. So that's 3 mana, and then 4 mana from the trip, and then downtrodden is 2 mana. So that is we're up to 4 mana spent this turn, and now let's do something nasty. Now let's do now we can do the paralyzing strike for an extra 48 damage on top of it. So that's 4 damage. That's 8 mana we've spent this turn. We've done sneak attack damage, 2 knife stabs, and 5d8 damage worth of extra damage. That costs us a total of 8 mana. And at 12th level, our rogue has 12 mana. So he would have to start recharging mana. And the rogue has various ways of doing that. Let's look at the rogue real quick. Actually, I need to turn on my clock. I'm walking through all this stuff just to give you guys a setup on how all this stuff works, right? So let's actually look at the rogue real quick so you guys understand, because we're going to be building a rogue today. So we're going to take a random class, a random subclass here from the rogues list, and I'm going to not use third-party stuff. I'm going to try to stick to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 of them here. We'll see. We'll roll a 9-sided die and see what we come up with. I think all of these are specifically WOTC content. So we'll see. We'll skip the Arcane Trickster for now, because the only class features it really gets is spellcasting and some boosts off of that. This will you'll see that replacement. So we'll roll a D8, skipping the Trickster, Assassin through Thief. But let's first take a quick look at what the Rogue gains by taking the Trickster class. Hold on. Rogue, Martial Trickster. So channeling, starting at first level, you gain martial powers, you gain a mana pool, and you can choose either your dexterity, intelligence, or charisma as your channeling ability score. You can always change it. Choose There you go. Choose when you select this archetype. Your channeling DC is 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your ability modifier. So if you go with, say, dexterity at 20, in your 12th level, it's going to be a 4 plus 8 DC 16. You also gain mana, the mana pool, and you gain 1 point per level, and it comes back on a long rest. And you also have some abilities to regain it. So let's take a look at it. And of course, you start off with 2 powers. You can select feats, stances, as well as all the lists of powers. Let's see, empowered sneak attack. At 3rd level, when you deal sneak attack damage, you can reduce your sneak attack damage by 2 dice and instead gain a point of temporary mana that you can then spend on the strike power. So if instead of spending the 2d6 to do sneak attack, you could instead not deal any extra d6s of damage, but instead rather gain a free point of mana to spend on a strike, such as tripping strike. You'd be able to use that for free instead of sneak attack, or psionic strike, or restraining strike, or shocking strike. All these 1 mana strikes cost 2d6 worth of sneak attack. If you want to do it, you could do at, then it says to the maximum temporary mana you gain this way is 1 point for every 4 levels, reducing your sneak attack damage by an additional 2d6 each. Reduce up to 4 dice to gain 2 points at 7th, up to 6 dice to get 3 points at 11th, and up to 8 dice to get 4 points at 15th. So at 12th level, we'd have 6 dice. We could do 6d6 sneak attack damage, or we could choose to not have any sneak attack damage dice, but when we get a sneak attack, we could use up to 3 mana to cast channel any combination of strikes. Say, corroding strike, disarming strike, and grappling strike. Or we could do, say, blinding strike and tripping strike. Or we could do delusional strike, which costs 3 mana. Your weapon can deal psychic damage and add 1 power die per mana burn. At this level, that would be 3d8 as opposed to 6d6. But on top of it, the creature must make a wisdom saving throw or be confused as per the spell description. And it can attempt to end the effect at the beginning of each of its turns by succeeding a wisdom saving throw. So he stays confused until you can beat your DC 16 wisdom saving throw. Against an ogre or something, that ain't a bad deal. You could also hit him with curses as one of your maneuvers. You can hit him with a blood curse, which is you curse a creature you can see to make saving throws against your powers with disadvantage. The effect ends if the creature succeeds a saving throw. So you could hit this creature, instead of dealing sneak attack damage, you could deal the confusing strike, and then as a bonus action follow up and hit him with the cursed brand as a maneuver costing 2 mana. So this run you spent 2 mana, and when it becomes his turn again, he's going to make a saving throw against being confused at disadvantage because you've cursed him. So you can combo these things together to build advantages for you to keep incapacitating or afflicting your enemies with conditions, and then you can spend more mana to help make sure it stays in place, so they're being debuffed or disabled. So that's the idea behind that, the empowered strike. And then at 9th level, there's power over precision, which is you can temporarily reduce your sneak attack dice for additional mana. As a bonus action, you can sacrifice 1 sneak attack die to gain 1 spent point of mana. So you're recovering mana that you've already spent by sacrificing a sneak attack die. Each dice sacrificed this way up to your total sneak attack dice, which like at 12th level would be 6d6 dice. I could sacrifice 6 of my sneak attack dice to get 6 mana, but doing so means that I don't have my sneak attack dice anymore until I finish a short or a long rest. So at 12th level, I'd have 12 mana. I could be, every time I'm making a sneak attack, I could swap out my sneak attack dice to gain free mana to use a strike power instead of a sneak attack damage. But then at any time, like say if I'm in a city scene, or if like I'm going into a social situation, or if I'm trap springing and I know I suspect I won't need my sneak attack damage for a fight before we have an opportunity to take another short rest, I could cash out and get rid of all my sneak attack dice and get extra mana for me to use to channel either maneuvers that allow me to do social and exploration stuff, or I could cash out those sneak attack dice to get free mana for me to spend on ability checks, or for me to lock, to channel and then lock different sustained powers that give me enchantment auras or defense auras for me to like spring traps and not take damage for it, or like to have feather fall so I could pop pit traps and not fall into them, for instance. Different things like that. Hey, Golan, it's good to see you, man. Hell yeah, dude. So I've been walking through the rogue archetype here because we're going to take a random rogue class. We're going to take one of these random subclasses, and then we're going to deconstruct it, and then we're going to rebuild it using martial powers. The lists that we have to see how well a random subclass can we. What powers do we have that feel like, but not necessarily duplicate the archetypes that are available? Like, if you are an assassin, all you'll ever be is an assassin. But the assassin gets some pretty fucking good perks for being that assassin. We can take martial powers and get a bunch of stuff that let us do assassin things that will either have to be sustained auras for us to maintain as an aura on ourselves, or a per use spend of mana. So we're going to be less efficient at doing assassin stuff than what a dedicated assassin would be. But next level, I could swap out all my powers and kit myself to instead be a phantom, or kit myself out to be a soul knife or a thief. Right now all we're doing is just really exploring what archetype, like if you're going to play a rogue and you take the martial trickster instead of one of these other archetypes, how well could you still fulfill the fantasy of playing one of these archetypes using our power kit, as it were. So that's what we're doing. So I'm just walking through the basic abilities of what the martial trickster gains that we're going to be using, and then once I get done with this quick little description of shit, we'll roll our die, and then we'll start breaking down into the powers, and we'll look at the other ones that we built out already. So we got Power of Precision, which is I'm going to, until my short rest or long rest, I'm going to permanently sacrifice or temporarily sacrifice my sneak attack dice to get additional mana. So at 12th level, I could spend 6 mana, blow all my sneak attack dice, and get 6 more mana back, and keep cooking. With empowered sneak attack, as long as I still have sneak attack available to me, I could always, whenever I make a sneak attack, I can ditch 2 sneak attack dice to get a free point of mana that I could then use specifically to channel one of these strikes. If I'm 20th level and I've got 10d6 worth of sneak attack dice at any time, I could ditch the 10d6 and instead gain 5 free mana. And then, of course, at 20th level, I'm packing a d10 on my power die. So instead of gaining 10d6, I could roll 5d10 and get 5 ranks worth of strike powers to stack up on debilitating my enemy. So like I could take, I think I just walked through this, but it's fun to do it. If I'm 20th level and I'm going to throw 5 free mana per sneak attack at something, I could go with, like, say, Poisoning Strike, which, you know, if your enemy's immune to poison, don't do it. But if they fail, they'll do 5d10 worth of power dice of damage, and if they fail their Constitution saving throw, they're poisoned, which means they have disadvantage on all of their checks, which is pretty damn good for 1 point of mana. But then I've got 4 more points open, so I could do, like, say, Goading Strike. So I could then spend a power die, and the strike, that creature will have disadvantage on any attacks that don't target me. And as a rogue, I could then use my bonus action to like dash away. So if he tries to attack anyone else other than me, it's a disadvantage. But now I'm like way the fuck over there. So now he's got to walk his ass over to attack me or be at disadvantage on everything. That's 2 mana. And then let's find something pricey. Let's go with Overwhelming Strike. Your damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. So in this instance, it would be 3 dice that we're stacking on. So we have a total of 5 mana. So we'd be adding on more power dice of damage. And the creature that is resistant to the damage attack, it loses the resistance. And if the creature is immune to the damage type, it is instead resistant. So if it had poison resistance, we could get rid of that poison resistance with Overwhelming Strike. But we could have also, say for 3 mana, chosen to stun it, which is you increase your damage dice by the amount of mana that you spend, and they'd have to make a Constitution saving throw or be stunned. And the creature can attempt to end the stunning at the beginning of each of its turns by, again, succeeding a Constitution saving throw. But as long as they keep failing that Constitution saving throw, they stay stunned. And again, we can go back up to the Blood Hunter maneuvers, and as we were just looking at it, this is such a great thing just to add on as a follow-up, like you make your attacks, and then you have your follow-up with your bonus action. You can spend your bonus action on, where did it go? There it is, Cursed Brand. Second level, it'll cost you 2 mana to do it, so you can start using this at 5th level. You curse your creature to make saving throws against your powers with disadvantage. So I can hit you with a smite, stack on a bunch of debilitating effects and conditions, and then hit you with the brand. There's no saving throw against the brand. The brand ends when you succeed a save, but all those saves are disadvantage. So I could paralyze you and then give you disadvantage and get yourself out of the paralysis, so you can stack up those effects. Anyway, that's the idea behind that. And then we have Swift Pounce that comes in late at 13th level. Whenever you use your bonus action to channel a sustained power, you can teleport up to 10 feet per mana sustained to a location you can see and make an attack with opportunity immediately after teleporting. So if we're going to go down and look at sustained effects, these are things that you concentrate on. You can either use your action or your bonus action to trigger a sustained power, but in this instance, if you're specifically using a bonus action to channel a sustained power, you can then get the teleport for free up to 10 per mana sustained, and this is 13th level, so that means I can sustain up to 4 mana at a time. So let's go down to sustained powers, and let's see something tasty that we can throw on your characters to gain a free teleport pounce. Frenzy. When sustaining this power, you gain 1 additional attack when you take the attack action, and you gain advantage on all attack rolls. That costs you 4 mana. So if you're sustaining that and you take damage, then you're going to have to make a Constitution saving throw versus 14 or half the damage, whichever is higher. Or if I hit you like with a stunning strike, you have to make a Constitution saving throw. If the Constitution saving throw, whether you succeed the stun or not, if it's below 14, you would lose your concentration. And then you would lose the sustained power. It's just a concentration effect, but it's a personal aura thing. But then you have the lock effect that you can use, which is if you were to lock this, you would lose access to channeling 4 levels of mana. So at 13th level, you'd be reduced down to not being able to use any mana because you've locked all your mana channels. You have 5 channels at 17th level. You have 1 channel at 1st level, 2 at 5, 3 at 9, 4 at 13, 5 at 17. Every time you lock a channel, it reduces the amount of channels that are open for you to trigger martial power effects. So, give me a hot second here. I think I'm still up and running. Just want to check my shit real quick. Yeah, okay. Looks like we're still cooking. Cool. Let's see. Where are we at? And then reliable power, 17th level. Whenever you roll a power die with an ability check that results in 5 or less, the die roll is instead treated as a 6. So when you're rolling power dice from now on at 17th level, like with that 5d10 damage that you dealt with your alternate smite damage instead of sneak attack, when you roll those 5d10 dice, if any of those dice are 5 or less, they would instead automatically be a 6. So when you're dealing sneak attack damage with 10d6 swapped out for 5 mana, you're going to be dealing at least 5 times 5. You're going to be dealing at least 30. You're going to deal at least 30 out of 50 points of damage on that sneak attack power smite. So anyway, that's the thoughts behind that. So now that we've walked through the quick skin, and again, this playtest, if you check in the Patreon link down in my description, it leads you right to the About page, which then leads you through to this playtest document. You're always welcome to read along with me, and you can check out all this content on your own. But for now, let's go down to the bottom of the document where we've been. This is our 3rd week of converting archetypes. Last week we converted the Cavalier, so you can see what powers we started off with. You start with the bonus proficiency, so we granted the skilled feat. They had like Born to the Saddle, which we duplicated with Controlled Fall and Resilient. Then they have Unwavering Mark, which we duplicated by converting into Goading Strike and a bonus attack action. And then the Warding Maneuver, which we converted into Deflection and Interpose. And then Hold the Line, which is we converted into both Moving Target and Restraining Strikes. And then the Ferocious Charger, but like yada yada yada, thing goes on. So we have the full kit of 15 powers. We had, after converting the Cavalier, we only had 3 powers left over. So you can walk through all that process. That was last week's video. The week before that, we converted the Ancestral Guardian Barbarian into a power kit. And so Barbarian Sample, Ancestral Guardian. This only took like a total of 6 powers. It only took 6 powers for us to figure out how to... 8. It took 8 powers for us to convert Ancestral Guardian into a power kit, which left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which left 7 powers open for us to do whatever we wanted with. So we just buffed out with whatever made sense at the time. So we're going to repeat that process today with our rogue. So let's go in here and we're just going to rebuild how this is structured. So we're going to go with rogue sample subclass conversion. We're going to have 3, and then we're going to have 3rd level, and then we're going to have 9th level. Something. Third level will be something, and then we'll have 9th level something, and then we'll have 13th level something. Where is that at? 9th level, and then we'll have 15th something, and then we'll have what is it? 17th something. Power conversion. And then we'll have remnant powers. So let's go through. Let's take our kit here. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're gonna go to random.org. We're gonna do a D8. Let's randomize. We got a 4. All right, so let's see what that is going to end up being. Skip 1, 2, 3. The Phantom. How about that? Cool. So let's see if we can build the Phantom. We'll have our power kit. We have all our powers listed here. We're going to. All right, we'll restart our clock. Let's throw open a notepad so we can scoop up the Phantom. Walked the line between life and death. Shot a car. Shadow fell. Bloody blood. Discovered the grim power. Who cares? It's magic. So let's grab these things and convert them. I have no idea how the Phantom is going to convert. Jeez, McCrow. So let's I guess we'll find out. So Whispers of the Dead. Earth. Whispers of the Dead, and then we'll have Wails from the Grave. grab tokens of the departed. I think this is going to be probably the trickiest one to convert. Jeez, McCrow. I have no idea how we're going to do that. It'll be interesting, so we'll see. Ghost Walk, I bet we can fake Ghost Walk pretty easily. And then Deaf Friend. Again, no idea. No idea how I'm going to duplicate that, but we'll find out. Friend. Ghost Walk. Tokens of the Departed. Whales from the Grave. And okay, cool. So we have our base template for us to convert. We'll look at what the ability is, and then we will convert it. All right, so let's see, where are we at? We are, don't need this. There we are. And we have our list here. Great, so let's see, third level Phantom feature. Echoes of those who have died cling to you. Whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can choose one skill or tool proficiency that you lack and gain it. As a ghostly presence shares its knowledge with you, you lose this proficiency when you use this feature to choose a different proficiency that you lack. So this allows us, whenever you finish a short or long rest, you can choose a skill or tool proficiency. What do we have? That sounds like this is a third level. So is there something a first level we can use that's going to fake this? Let's go to Sustained and see what we find. You know what? Bonuses advantage to a specific stat check isn't horrible as a substitute for first level, like charismatic or dexterous or intelligence. Those are good options since we don't have a direct translation of it. Let's see, what exploits do we have? There might be an exploit that works, but it might be a higher level than a first rank power. So let's see what we see. Adept Craftsman, Charge, Commanding Presence, Field, Gifted Artisan, Ground Fighting, Inquisitive, Natural Hunter, Practice Charlatan, Ability check, Ability check, Ability check, Saving Throw, Ability check, Unnerving Focus, Veterinary Training, and then we get into second rank. We could either learn. We could either just learn a skill by taking the feat. Let's see. Choose 2 skills. Choose any combination of 2 skills or tools to gain proficiency with. That's a permanent effect. And then we can use, let's say, there's no specific one. I guess it just depends on what kind of a guy you want to be. That's not actually that's not a bad idea for a sustained power at all. Yeah, that's not bad. Hold on. We should probably pick that up. Let's go down to our new list of skills. Let's see what deliciousness we got down here. That's actually a really good skill use. Let's do that. Hold on. Buttons. You can there, inspired skill. That absolutely fits the bill. That is an example of finding a cool skill to acquire by developing these powers. So that's the only one that I think we actually need there. That completely covers it. I mean, it's only one instead of two, but still. When you die, whenever you finish a short launch, you can, oh yeah, it's the exact same thing. Holy crap, that's great. And if you lock that, then you can't lose it at all. If you sustain it and don't want to lock it, then you can do it again. You can always do it again. Let's see, Wells from the Grave, third level, so still first rank powers. As you nudge someone closer to the grave, you can channel the power of death to harm someone else as well. Immediately after you deal sneak attack damage to a creature on your turn, you can target a second creature that you can see within 30 feet of the first creature. Roll half the number of sneak attack dice for your level rounded up, and the second creature takes necrotic damage equal to the roll's total as wails of the dead sound around them for a moment. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, which is twice. And you can regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So, this is necrotic damage, 30 feet. I think we might have a power that does something with this. Let's go find out. I don't know if we have a maneuver that fits the bill here or not, honestly. Roll ability checks and concentration checks at disadvantage. Hey, Hornetico, it's good to see you, my dude. We are working on the Phantom. We're converting the Phantom into a... we're trying to find powers that we can swap out features from the Phantom to build a Phantom kit out of martial powers. And if we don't have something that fits the bill, is the power something that is broad enough as an idea that it would warrant creating into a power? One of the ways we flesh out powers. So in that instance, we saw that a sustained power to gain a skill or to be able to gain proficiency with a tool makes sense. While you sustain the power, your proficiency with this thing. A little thing whispers in your ear how to use these things. Very lore hold, if you would. A lore hold Phantom actually makes a lot of sense. That's kind of cool. But right now, we're looking for something that can deal necrotic damage to a target at a distance. And so I wanted to poke at maneuvers real quick to see if there's anything interesting in here. Well, flatten is neat. Overrun, restraining hold. While grappling, that requires grappling. We could go with flatten. It's not the same as tagging somebody with necrotic damage after a sneak attack. It only costs 1 mana to use it, and it is something you can do at a range. Let's see if there's something else that we like. First strike's too expensive. We're looking at first level. Ambush. When you make an ability check that can use stealth skill when rolling initiative, you gain a power die per mana channeled, adding the highest results. Adding highest rolls to your result. Okay, that doesn't meet the bill. Gaining presence, extending an attack, increases the range of melee attack. That's not what we're looking for. Ground fighting, not what we're looking for. Inquisitive, natural, practice, resilient, sage, swift, tactical, unnerving, vet. Nope. The best thing that we could probably come up with Let's go on strikes. Provoking, axiom, stripping, thundering, restraining, psionic, poisoning, grappling, freezing, goading, flaming, psionic, striking, thundering, poisoning, grappling, flaming, corroding. Well, there is necrotic damage dealing power die, and it'd be half your sneak attack, and you can do it twice. So, actually, corroding strike kind of fits the bill. So we'll go with that. 1 corroding strike. It's not a perfect match, but it lets you do necrotic damage on instead of sneak attack damage, and you can always use it on an attack roll. So I mean, it's viable. Hey, what's up, RP Jeffrey? What up, dude? And Hordico, I'm currently struggling with figuring out how stealth should work in my current project because I want it to be somewhat well defined to avoid confusion. Well, yeah, I guess you're gonna have to figure out how perception works, right? How things get spotted in the first place and how stealth defeats being spotted. I guess that'd be your place to start, right? Which also means you have to figure out, like, is there action economy involved with it, or is it just part of normal movement or another action? Are you automatically in stealth? Like, if they just don't have line of sight with you, do they automatically gain concealment or a hidden, obscured condition that is afflicted by anybody that doesn't have line of sight with them? Is line of sight a mechanic that's a thing in your TTRPG? So you have to figure out the fundamentals of how a space is defined and how vision is determined inside of that space. How do objects, creatures, and other obstacles potentially obscure vision? And what triggers stealth? Is it an active thing you have to do, or is it a passive effect that's just defaulting? And given those two things, how does effort modify that perception that is or is not automatically defaulted? And then from there, what is the method of determining success or not? Is it that the enemy is a fail state, or is this something that you're actively doing to them as though you were imposing a condition onto them? So you have to understand the underlying physics, like what's the Planck length of how your system operates in the first place, and then how do you filter in all those other variables on top of it. So 5e did a lot of work for us, man. They did a lot of just core physics that got built into the engine that we could then just riff off of. But actually building your own TTRPG from the game up is basically defining how reality works inside of your game space. So it's not a small project, but if you nail it, good job, man, because that is worth nailing. Okay, great. So we are going to continue our way through rebuilding the Phantom Rogue into a power kit. So far, we've got Whispers of the Dead using inspired skill, sustained power, which is why you're sustaining this power. You can choose a proficiency or a tool to gain proficiency with. If you lock it, then you lose that rank of power to be able to channel, but it's permanent. Otherwise, it's just a sustained effect which you can swap out every time you refresh the ability. Wails from the Grave is when you deal sneak attack to somebody, pick someone within 30 feet, and you can deal, you'd start at 3rd level, you'd start with 2d6. But this would be, and then you would target somebody for 1d6 worth of necrotic damage. We can, of course, use Corroding Strike to deal necrotic damage at will, as long as we're willing to spend 1 mana. And at 3rd level, it would be a d6 worth of acid damage, necrotic damage on top of your weapon dealing necrotic instead of, like, say, piercing damage, for instance. So it just becomes a necrotic weapon that deals additional d6 necrotic damage. You could either swap out your we're not on that page right now. Let's go find that page. We can go to the rogue, and at 3rd level we can either swap out our 2d6 dice from the sneak attack and instead get Corroding Strike for free, which isn't a great buy because you're swapping out 2d6 of free damage for 1d6 of free damage. So that's not very valuable. But you could stack this on top of your sneak attack, spend a point instead of 2d6 smite sneak attack. You'd be doing 2d6 sneak attack and an extra d6 of Corroding Strike, and the whole thing would be necrotic damage. So it's not quite the same as what Wails from the Grave is offering at 3rd level, but it's an interesting substitute, which I believe we're going to be able to supplement with something else at a higher level. It says right now that's the best we can do. So I think we're going to have a stack of powers left over when we finish doing the raw conversion here that we can then go in and feed in better options as we go up in levels. So let's just keep pushing through this just to see where we land at, to see how close we can get. And then I'll put exclamation points next to the ones I think I want to work on some more or find additional powers for. So Tokens of the Departed, that's what we're going to work on next. Comments. I appear to be having connection issues, might end up cutting out at random. Right on, my dude. Well, you're here. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad that you're around. Thanks a lot. Hey, anyone else that's kind of stumbling through, this whole document, if you check in the description down below, there's a DMsGuild link, which lets you see all the mana books that I've already created for like MTG or elemental martial characters. You can read all those books cover to cover for free. The entire book is there for you to look at, so you can understand the mechanics, and you'll see how, if you check down the link further down below to the Patreon link, that leads you to this playtest document that we're looking at right now. And that will allow you to read along with all the things that we're actually doing right now. So here's the front of it. Here's the URL that we have in our Patreon link. You don't have to be a member. It's not paywalled. This is just playtest document stuff. That link will eventually be stripped out and replaced with the link for the DMsGuild, which then you will be able to look at and link down below. As part of that bundle, you'll be able to read the entire book cover to cover with all the artwork, layout, and all the cool stuff added into it as we go. But so be welcome. Check this out. Build your own characters. If you think you can make a better Phantom than what I come up with using the list of powers that we currently have, there's about 150 of them to choose from. So be welcome to traipse through and test your mettle against mine. This is a read-only document. You can only look at it. But you can at least, you can't even cut and paste off it, but you can at least grab ideas out of it. Again, this isn't your document. You're going to see the full actual document on DMsGuild. This is just stuff for you guys to look at for right now. So we got that corroding strike taken care of. Let's see what Tokens of the Departed does for us. When a life ends in your presence, you're able to snatch a token from the departed soul, a sliver of its life essence taking physical form. As a reaction, when a creature that you see within 30 feet of you dies, you can open your free hand to cause a tiny trinket to appear there, a soul trinket. The DM determines the soul trinket's form and has you roll on the trinket table of the player's handbook to generate it. You can have a maximum number of soul trinkets equal to your proficiency bonus, which is at 9th level is 3. 4, 8 is plus 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's plus 4. So you can have a total of 4 trinkets this way. We use the soul trinket in the following ways. So, while a soul trinket is in your person, you have advantage on death saving throws and constitution saving throws. When you deal sneak attack damage on your turn, you can destroy one or more trinkets that's on your person and then immediately use Wails from the Grave without expending the use of the feature. And so this means we already have this resolved with Corroding Strike. As an action, you can destroy one of your soul trinkets no matter where it's located, and if you do, you can ask the spirit associated with the trinket one question. The spirit appears to you and answers in a language new in life. It's under no obligation to be truthful, and it answers as concisely as possible, eager to be free. The spirit knows only what it knew in life as determined by the GM. So we already have the sneak attack taken care of with the Corroding Strike. Advantage on Constitution saving throws. Let's see, what do we got that's going to give us bonuses on saving? Do we have a sustained power that we want to spend? Mental resistance, dire impact. Weapon attacks are magic. And you can add your proficiency bonus to your weapon damage rolls. That's not bad. Dexterous is advantage on dexterity saving throws. Charismatic. Charisma checks. That's dexterity checks. Rite of Dawn. Necrotic damage resistance. Strong. Strength checks. Wise. Wisdom checks. Ooh, but this is 9th level, which means we have up to 3rd rank powers that we can use. Holy crap, Relentless. No. Cloud Strike, Close Quarter Combat, Vigilant. While this power is sustained, any hostile creature you can see that begins its turns or enters within 10 feet of you takes 1 power die of damage for each mana sustained. Jeez. Castigate, we're hunting for a power. It's going to give us advantage on Constitution or any saving throws. When just a power die on the Linguist, regenerate. Strange Metabolism. While sustaining this power, you're immune to poison. Bonus action, Unarmed Strike. To deal poison damage. No, it's not. Unnatural resistance. Choose a type of power to be resistant to. Saving throws. Essence Life Force. Ask a question. Also, hello. Loading, hello. Yes. 4+. Thank you kindly. But we can, so at 9th level we can get up to 3rd rank power. So let's see. Giant Growth is nice, but that's not what we're doing specifically here. Ghost Walk is also really okay. Those are the sustained powers. So let's go to None of those are quite scratching the itch. So maybe we want to go to reactions and see what we have down in reactions. Like when we make a saving throw, we may have a reaction to pop it. So let's see. There we go, Rite of Revival. And that is a reaction. Rite of Revival. As a reaction to when you drop to 0 hit points but don't die outright, you instead drop to 1 hit point. It'll cost you 3 to do it, but it also keeps you from dropping, you drop to 1 hit point instead. So I think that's a good replacement. As a reaction to when you drop to 0 hit points but don't die outright, you instead drop to 1 hit point. I believe there may be something in there that allows us... let's see. Cheat death. Because they died, you can instead take an action. Oh, no, that's too expensive. Let's go down to... Meticulous effort, one's own luck. Reaction to when you fail an ability check, or meticulous effort isn't a good name for that. As a reaction, what's a better name for that? Meticulous effort doesn't match anymore. It worked okay when it was just ability checks, but we combined both the ability checks and the saving throws. So it costs you 2 mana, but anytime you spend that as a reaction, if you fail an ability check, you can roll a power die, and at 9th level that's going to be a D8. So you can roll a D8 per mana. So you can roll 3 D8 at 9th level, 3 8-sided dice, and then you add the highest result, kind of like Bardic dice. You add the highest result. That's only 2, so we can spend 3 mana and roll 3d8 and take the best of the result to potentially change that failure into a success. That's really good. The 2 mana means you're going to spend at least 2 dice on it at a time, and you'll take the better of the results and add it to your result. That's how you keep yourself from blowing out of the power curve. The skill curve, the bounded accuracy that they supposedly have in 5e that they ignore a lot. This basically acts like Bardic inspiration dice, but no matter how many dice you throw, you're only going to keep the best. So it has statistical relevance, but at a certain point, you're like throwing extra, like after you get the 2 or 3 dice worth of dice being thrown, the likelihood of you getting above average is high. The only reason you want to keep throwing dice is because like you're like 6 away from what you need, you know? So you want to throw as many dice as you can to try to hit that 6 or above. Like on a D10 at 17th level, that 6, you got a 50-50 shot. So if you put 2 or 3 mana behind it, the likelihood of you getting above 6 is like 85%. Something like that. Stats. But it just gets better. But at a certain point, like 3 mana, that may have been the breaking point, but 4 or 5, now you're just burning mana to like guarantee it. Like if it's like our whole campaign is hinging on us hitting this, sure, let's dump 5 dice into it so we can throw 5 10-sided dice trying to get that extra 6. Probably gonna happen. But you know, maybe you could have gotten away with it 3, but now you're gambling, right? It's kind of like you're playing craps, but you're spending mana instead of money. What we were trying to do, Great Fortitude. As a reaction to failing a strength or saving throw, re-roll the d20 and take the better result. So that's not bad. And that's a reaction 1. This will be number 4. so far. 4 powers out of 15. And then as far as the soul trinket, no matter what. Okay, so this trinket thing here, this ask a question, it is very similar to the Ancestral Guardian's ability that lets you scry from a spirit's location. In both instances, you're asking that spirit to basically answer you a question about what it knows or its environment. I'm starting to think like some sort of like arcane eye or remote viewing utility feature as a sustained power might be worth having if we keep seeing it pop up. But otherwise, we've pretty much got the Constitution death save thing taken care of. We've already got the sneak attack taken care of with the corrosive strike, but now that we're a higher rank, let's see if there's any fun maneuvers in here. Wave of Terror. Hit everybody, make them feared. Flicker Pounce, Double Strike, TK Bubble, Lift, Shunt, Pack Tactics, Phase, Lethargy. Equals no move or bonus action until they succeed at the beginning of the next. God, Lethargy is so good. Rally, Swift. There's not enough difference between different conditions in 5e. Like paralysis, incapacitated, stun. They all have a lot of overlap to them. It's like a little bit better, like advantage and critical it had, and like it's like stacks on more and more conditions, but they're very samey. Distract, coordinated. Let's look at First Strike. Make an attack roll. That's not quite what we're looking at. Empower Synergy. Ooh! When you use a bonus action to channel a maneuver, you can make a weapon attack as part of that bonus action. This attack can be made at the beginning, end, or during the empowered maneuver. And it's a maneuver specifically. So what I want is a maneuver that's going to get us into a position that we can hit. Oh, how does that go? Hold on. When you channel a maneuver. Okay, great. So I think Flicker Pounce is fucking perfect here. That's what we're going to do. There, it took a while for us to fake it, but we figured it out. So let's go here. There it is. That is maneuver 3. Is that what that is? Flicker Pounce is 3. It's expensive, but... And then let's go up to the exploit. Empowered Synergy is a 2. I see a comment. I'll get to you in a second. Hold on. Let me see. Exploit 2. Okay, so Flicker Pounce. So you can teleport. So you can trigger maneuvers as either actions or bonus actions. So the sequence that we're seeing here is you're making an attack, you do a sneak attack. Bob's your uncle. Use Corroding Strike for 1 or more mana. So you're doing your necrotic damage to a target. You then use Flicker Pounce. You can teleport up to 30 feet away. Flickering Pounce. You can teleport up to 30 feet, which is the range that you want for the Whale of Souls, to a space within 5 feet of a creature that I can see, which is also the same as Whale of Souls. And then you can make a weapon attack against it, which is different because we're going to start dealing more damage. If the attack succeeds, I can then choose to teleport back to my original position. And then with, let's see, you choose to tell you can see and make a weapon attack. Oh, I don't even need empowered synergy to this because I automatically get the free weapon attack with it when I make the flick. But if I did, then I'd be able to make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. The attack can be made at the beginning, end, or during the... I think I'll eventually pick up Empowering Synergy. I'm going to drop it down here. Beep, 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 beep. Power Conversion. And how low characters hit automatically. Can you explain bounded... bounded accuracy. D&D is framed in that they don't assume that you're going to be able to roll above a 32. Basically, most of the powers that you have, so you're going to roll a d20, and you're going to add your proficiency modifier, which will be anywhere from +2 to +6, depending on what level your character is. 20 at 17th level, you're sporting a +6, and then most of the time you're also adding you're almost always adding your ability modifier with, like, say at 17th plus level. The relevant ability modifier, like say attacking with strength, it's probably going to be a 20, which probably means you're going to have +5 to hit. So you're going to have your d20 die roll, your +5 from your ability score, and a +6 from your proficiency modifier. So a d20 plus 11 typically is going to be 31 or less. But there's a lot of little niggly bits that allow you to ding-ong additional bonuses. Like, for example, Bardic Inspiration is something that a bard can give you, and they're looking at making it as a reaction. But currently it's a bonus action. You can grant somebody a die that they can throw anytime they want to add to a d20 die roll. So you roll your d20, you add your +11, and then you add at 17th level, bard is sporting a d12 die. So you could potentially roll up to a 43 using that. So the bounded accuracy is setting a scale basically from a scale of 1 to 32 of how difficult is it for you to achieve something. Typically 25 to 32 is impossible, or like nearly impossible to do. So like if you're like a normal character with like a +3 to their strength bonus because you're like a mid-strength fighter, and you're a mid-level character, so like you've got a +4, this could be like a +7 to your die roll. At best you're going to roll a 27. So if you're looking at like a die roll of 30, you would have missed it. But then even still, with the Bardic die tossed, and even with a D8, it's likely that you're going to get that 5 or more that you need to be able to hit that 32 mark. So they call it bounded accuracy. But as the game continues to glut out, they have more and more things that you can synergize with. I mean, even out of the player's handbook, you have a rogue with expertise, and then you can get a Bardic die on top. So expertise lets you double your proficiency bonus. So you get your dexterity of +5, your bounded accurate, your proficiency +6, expertise is another +6, and then you get your Bardic die on top of it, which is 12. That's a potential 17, 27, 29. That's a potential +29 to your die roll on top of the d20 that you're throwing. So them calling it bounded accuracy is actually kind of inaccurate. It's mostly referring to the scale of how difficult they expect something to be. And for the most part, they calibrate your general abilities to comply with that. If the average die roll on a d20 is going to be an 11, and you've got typically a +11, maybe a +13 to your stats, then having nearly impossible at 25 and above means that at 17th level, half the time, if this is something your character's focused on, they're going to be able to do it. But then you have instances, obviously, again here, where you can start stacking on spell class features that are limited uses, typically around maybe 6 times per day, or in the case of the bard, it's up to 6 times per short rest. So potentially 18 dice per day that they can grant that feature. And so this martial power system that we're providing is allowing you to spend a point of mana to gain anything from a D6, D8, or a D10 added to whatever your ability modifier is, or whatever your attack roll is. And depending on what your class is, it's going to determine how much mana you have at all. You'll have, as a hybrid, like a paladin or a ranger, you'll have up to 40 mana at 20th level that you can spend 1 point at a time to get an extra D10 die roll to whatever ability checks or attack rolls you're using, assuming you know a power that lets you do that. A rogue, barbarian, and fighter use martial progression, which caps at 20 per long rest at 20th level. You gain 1 per level. But all of the martial classes, like the rogue, the fighter, the barbarian, they all have special features in their martial power subclass that grants them opportunities to regain lost mana. Like the barbarian, for instance, starting at, I think it's 6th level, whenever you get hit, like whenever you make a saving throw against area of effect damage, or whenever you're hit by a critical attack, critical damage, you can use your reaction to gain a point of mana that you've lost. So if you spent 3 points so far, if you take a critical hit as a reaction, you can gain a point of mana back. If you get hit by a burning hand spell from an enemy, it has to be from a hostile source. Then like your friend can't just catch you on fire or like hit you with like cold cantrips or something that requires strength saving throw each round. You get all your mana back for free. It has to be a hostile target causing you to make a saving throw against an area of effect, which cantrips are an area of effect of saving throws. So it forces you to get out of your character getting free mana with cantrips. The minimum area of effect that can deal damage that a character can make a saving throw against is Burning Hands at 1st level, which would then be my character casts a spell to give you 1 point of mana for the barbarian to then fail the saving throw and get that point of mana. You're basically exchanging mana from your wizard to your barbarian, which means the team still has the same amount of resources available. You're just going about it in a complex way to reallocate those resources, but still the party as a whole has the same amount of resources. So you have to add in little caveats and stuff like that to be able to silo how your characters can synergize their abilities together to get, like the bag of rats, for instance. If I kill a rat, which is like a 1 hit point, nothing creature, I get back, say, D8 hit points because of Vampiric Touch or something like that. It's like that's called a bag of rats, and it's an exploit where one resource in the game creates another resource at either a higher rate of like you get the same resource back at a higher rate, or you get a more valuable resource back by expending a cheap resource. Like the Blood Hunter and the Blood Sorcerer, Matt Mercer classes are good examples of this. You're gaining feature benefits and class leverage advantage by spending hit points. And getting hit points is the easiest. You can get hit points back with resting dice during a short rest. You can get them back with good berries. You can get them back with a shitload of spells. And there's a lot of things in the game that allow you to get a high level of hit points back for very low resource use, either for free or for a nominal amount of spell points. So you're getting a lot more hit point back per resource spent. And then if you then use those hit points to purchase additional class features, you're getting a lot more leverage. You're gaining your scaling advantage by exchanging your resources at a better exchange rate. And that is poor design. Numenera suffers from that, the Cypher system. The Cypher system uses its hit points for its mana. And it's the same pool. If you have an 18 wisdom, then you have 18 hit points of like psychic damage you can take. Or you have 18 points of mana that you can spend to do psychic stuff. So if you're if it costs you 1 mana to ignore damage from a psychic source, you would always choose to use that power to only take 1 point of psychic damage, as opposed to not use that power and take 3 points of psychic damage from the enemy that you're facing. It's more efficient for you, action economy, in like if you only have 1 reaction per turn, you have to use your reaction to gain that mental resistance. It only costs you 1 point. If there's nothing better for you to use your resistance for, that's incredible value. It's a 3-to-1 exchange because that system is not granular enough and doesn't have enough walls blockading one resource from another so that you can't just bag of rats everything. Like there's numerous problems like that throughout Numenera. I love it as a game system in general, but that is a flaw that it hasn't resolved yet. So at least not the last time I looked at it. It's been maybe 2 years, so maybe it got better since then. But after using Numenera to play a Eberron game for a year and a half, that's what we came up. That's what we kind of walked away with. There's a couple different powers that you can use that optimize exchanging hit points for resistances, for instance. So it's No system's perfect. It's just a matter of how complicated it is to get free to be able to silo stuff. So curious on your thoughts on the OGL stuff going on, if you have an opinion at all. It's okay. I'll take that quick tangent. It's shitty. It's shitty. The same take as everyone else. It sucks. But it's going to take maybe 3 or 4 months for the industry to start shaking out what OGL do people want to use. The OGL is a license that says if you use my SRD, my systems reference document for my role-playing game, this license allows you to make access to that. If the OGL is modified that says you can't use it unless you pay me money, then people aren't going to want to use that SRD. It's the SRD. OGL grants access to the SRD. So there's going to be a number of universal OGLs being offered by Paizo, KP, whoever. They're coming up with licensing language that silos and protects the content creators from always being able to use any system reference document that's mentioned inside of your specific OGL. Like I could have a Phil Kearney OGL, and you could have a loading OGL. And loadings, we use the same OGL, but when you use the OGL, it says you can use loadings SRD to create any games that you want. While I would say you can use Phil Kearney Creations system documents to create any games that you want, but we could use the same OGL license to say that basically that says if you want to use, you can use any SRD that's referenced by this OGL that you want. And you're basically adding your SRD to the pile, right? A universal OGL is like, you could use all this OSR stuff and Cypher System and Pathfinder 2E and whatever KP comes up with and GURPS, all these different systems, if they all drop inside of the same OGL, it's basically like you can borrow from any one of these system reference documents to create your own game, and none of the people that are in this pool are going to come after you because you're just creating something new. You would just have to reference which SRDs that you're using inside your OGL, and then Bob's your uncle. You continue on forward. If In-World Publishing exports Advanced 5e from the 1.0a system doc into say In-Publishing SRD or A5e SRD, then they drop that into an OGL and says anyone can use A5e that they want. We could already use A5e as much as we want because it exists inside of the OGL 1.0a. But if Wizards is able to nuke that original OGL somehow, then we would just have to export the SRD to another OGL. Me, myself, personally, I've got another year or so worth of converting different Wizard of the Coast adventure books like Descent into Avernus, Light as Xerxes, and the Dragonlance, not only the Dragonlance book, but also the Dragonlance board game into the command mechanics that we've been developing on stream for the past year. So I'm on a crusade to make those adventures better by using mass combat rules and large-scale vehicle mechanics that allow you to fight the Blood War, allow you to take over Elturel as a city, allow you to lead a fleet of spelljamming ships against the Lazaraxes on a tactical scale, how to lead a platoon of 30 Salamian knights against a dragon. Like that's my crusade. So I'll be building these mechanics and putting in like this playtest document here, Martial Powers, is designed to use color mana as well as elemental key or just generic universal spell points, all of which already exist on the DMsGuild. So I'm going to bundle this with those stuff. So if you buy this, you get like 25% off or something like that if you own the other books. So I'm just keeping all my stuff siloed into the DMsGuild. By the time I'm done with those adventure conversions, because adventure conversions sell, period. It doesn't matter if you like D&D or not. If you're playing Curse of Strahd, you're looking for a better way to play Curse of Strahd. If you picked up the Dragonlance book, you're looking for a better way to play Dragonlance than to have to spend $90 on a board game to stop playing D&D for a while so you can do this stupid war. The mechanics we have allow you to conduct that battle using 5e combat inside of the 5e game using 5e maps that are already provided in the book. I just got to do the conversion work and put it out. So that's what I'll be doing for the next year or so. And by the time I'm done with that process, we will see how OGL SRD shit shook out. And once we understand how the market now sits in 2024, I'll know what I need to do when I export all my stuff and I start doing things independently. If Orc If Paizo's orc document ends up being the industry leader now, then it'll be easy for me to take all these ideas that we've been building out for the past 4 years, using the DMs Guild as a safe space for us to be able to build these ideas off the 5e engine. I can then extract all the concepts of that, drop it into its own tabletop chassis that's designed specifically to just use these mechanics that you could then staple onto any other system that uses a D20. So it'd be like an SR subsystem, as opposed to its own role-playing game. It would just be a D20 based RPG supplement that you could staple onto. Like, it works with Pathfinder 1 and 2. Obviously, it works with D&D because that's how I built it originally. I could reframe it to also work with Warhammer, as well as Numenera, as well as Powered by the Apocalypse. I should be able to rebuild it out using the same system structure, but just have a couple different methods of dice resolution, so that the scaling and the scope and epic mechanics still work as intended. We just tie it to a different dice resolution mechanic and different resource spend depending on which role-playing system that you use. So once I get all this stuff completed and I lock down how those mechanics work with 5e, it'll be easy for me to extract it and then drop it down into a system neutral document that I can own for myself and then promote on Twitch.io as well as DTRPG and my own Patreon and my own website. But starting off inside of 5e is the best way for me to go, because those adventures are what inspired it, so it belongs there. But once I change all the language, they don't have any rights to it. So anyone can safely explore inside of the 5e DMs Guild space if you're willing to take the hit. But unless you're using their IPs, there's no reason to. I specifically work with this Wizard of the Coast adventure IP, like Dragonlance and Ravnica, Strixhaven, the Light as Raxus Spelljammer stuff. Like, all my stuff is specifically using their adventures to explain how these mechanics are intended to be used. Having those adventures be the example as to how these mechanics work. Like, the proof of concept is you can use these mechanics inside these adventures, and these adventures are demonstrably more fun to play than as presented. So that's my spiel anyway. That's my take. But that's a year away. So for me, nothing's changing. We haven't seen any impact on sales on DM's Guild at all yet, because people will look for third-person content on the DM's Guild because it's Wizard sanctioned. So it has a higher level of acceptability in the D&D game space, as opposed to the wider RPG industry, which is, they'll look at the DM's Guild because there are creators and designers that are coming up with great ideas, but that's always going to be a 5e concept that they're working off of. But you can export that stuff into OS. Like, I can easily export all my stuff into OSR. It's the same D20 framework. It's the same scaling structure. Pretty easy to do it. I would just have to change the language. So anyway, Bob's your uncle. I want to continue on with the mechanics that we have for the Phantom, so we can get through that and we can sign off on it. So hold on real quick. This is what I was actually looking for. Remnant powers. Copy. Paste. Now I can delete all this stuff in between that is no longer needed. There. That's where I'm at. So yeah, it's a big stinker, but it'll sort itself out. Relying too much on one corporate entity is a bad idea. So 15. So leaving that space is ultimately what's healthiest for the industry. It's just that since no one's had to ask the question seriously until now, we don't know where everyone's going to scoop to. Different companies are jockeying for dominance and authority in the space. Paizo is a very strong contender because they've already done it once before. They know how the game runs. I mean, they know the process of doing it. So Paizo's in a really strong position to do that. But Kobold Press is in the position that Paizo was the 8-10 years ago. Paizo built a lot of the content that Wizards was using for 3rd edition through Dungeon and Dragon magazine. That's how they cut their teeth on how to build 3rd edition, which allowed them to export themselves out into Pathfinder 3.75. Cobalt Press has been doing a lot of the lifting for Wizards of the Coast during 5th edition. So they've been trained to become Wizards competition. Now that they did this, it's only natural that Cobalt Press would exit stage left, take their skills with them to build an alternate OGL SRD document that's very similar to like Advanced 5e that In Publishing put out. I could see those two playing together really nicely, like In Publishing using Cobalt Press's SRD license that they come up with so that they could silo together. That would be a really good decision to make. So, but we'll, in the next 4 or 5 months, we'll see which companies put out the best model that everyone is going to naturally want to gravitate towards. Or we'll see 2 or 3 different factions based on probably design aesthetic decisions. Like Powered by the Apocalypse versus Dungeon World and OSR stuff versus like Rollmaster and Cthulhu stuff. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that shit shakes out. But it'll be far more defined and hopefully in a much safer space for people to move forward with. Like me, when I eventually move out of DMsGuild, I'll get to choose which of these SRDs do I want to play with, or do I want to create my own SRD and then tie it to one of the OGLs that I think is going to most resonate with how I build my, like the OSR OGL or the PBTA SRD group. You know, one of those will make the most sense for how I'm building. And I won't actually know what that is until I start building out my system and seeing what what resolution mechanics resonate with me best, and which of those mechanics best aligns with the OGLs and SRDs that are out there already. So it's an interesting time, and if I had Kickstarters going, I'd be really freaking out right now too. And I don't blame people that are at all. It's a nasty scenario, but I won't really know what's the right thing to do until we see everybody else flesh out their space. So that's my long-winded answer. I've got lots of long-winded answers around here, so keep an eye out for that crap. Let's see. What does Ghost Walk do? I think I have something that actually works with that. You can phase partially into the realm of the dead, becoming like a ghost. As a bonus action, you assume a spectral form. While in this form, you have a flying speed. You can hover. Attack rolls have disadvantage against you. You can move through creatures and objects. I know I have something like this. Let's go find it. I think it's called Ghost Walk or something like that, or Phase maybe. I'm not sure what I called it. Let's go find it. I think it's a sustained power. Let's go find out. This is 13th level, which means we have access to 4th rank powers. Ghostwalker. While sustaining this power as a bonus action, including this round if the power is channeled using a bonus action, you can become incorporeal. Any round you end within an object, you gain 1 level of exhaustion, and you are ejected from this space, returning to the last position you occupied in the nearest location to that space. And it is all cleanly wrapped up inside of the incorporeal condition. So let's look up 5e condition incorporeal. How about that? Handy dandy little SRD. Oh, this is the 3.5 SRD. That's no good. I think incorporeal is a condition, yeah? Ugh, sure isn't. Let's just look up 5e. Incorporeal should be a condition. IMO. Incorporeal creatures. Creatures missing subtype. Exactly. Incorporeal movement. How melee attacks work. Incorporeal creatures. Etherealness. Wrong. Damn it. Give me the... Maybe this is an instance of me having to look it up. Back to the top. Incorporeal. What do you guys say? Incorporeal movement. The region can move through other creatures and objects, and if they were difficult terrain, it takes force damage if it ends its turn inside an object. Boy, that's trite. Okay, well, I mean, hey, it is what it is. So we have that, and get rid of random. But yeah, Ghostwalker definitely makes sense there. So let's grab that. Sustain, what is that? Sustain 3. And let's see. What does the actual power let us do? You can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain, but you take damage if you end your turn inside of it. You stay in this form for 10 minutes or until you end up with a bonus action. To use this feature again, you must finish a long rest or destroy one of your soul trinkets. That's an interesting recycle feature. Cool. Okay, great. So sustained power, you could maintain Ghost Walk indefinitely as long as you lock the mana and deny yourself the ability to do anything else with that mana while it's locked. Otherwise, you can drop it at will, so the pacing works out the same. What does it say here? Death object. You can hover and attack rolls have disadvantages against you. So let's go find an exploit that grants disadvantage. Daunting Presence. There we go. Daunting Presence. While sustaining this power, attack rolls against you are made with disadvantage. Unfortunately, that's 3rd rank also. Oh, you'd have to buy this down. That's actually probably a really good thing to do. So let's grab Daunting Presence, which is a sustained effect. Meta Power Feat. What's it called? Hold on. First, let's check our stack. We are 13th level at this point. Is that right? 13th level characters have 12 powers, and we are only up to our 8th power so far. So we are doing really good. Let's check our stack to find the feat that we're looking for. Instead of learning a power, you can learn feats. So like at first level, you have 2 powers. Instead of learning something that requires you to spend mana, you can instead decide to pick up 2 feats. There you go. And so far at first level, these are the feats that you can learn. And then like all the really good feats are at 2nd level, or are at 5th rank, at 5th level. So it only costs you 1 power to learn them, but you can't learn them until 5th level, like Crusher, Piercer, Pam, like the really good ones. Are put off till 5th level. And we have Meta Power Feats. Meta Power Feat equals Practice Discipline. There you go. Requires 5th level plus. Channeling class feature is repeatable. Choose a power that you have learned of 2nd rank or higher. In this case, we're talking about Daunting Presence. That's a power of 3rd rank. Reduce the rank and amount of mana to channel the power by 1. And then I can later, if we swap out the power, we can also swap out the discipline. So basically, Meta Power Feat is practiced, practice discipline. Reduce cost of Daunting Presence to 2nd rank. So now Daunting Presence only requires 2 mana to channel, while Ghostwalker requires 3 mana to channel, and by the time we hit 17th level, we can sustain both Ghostwalker and Daunting Presence with 5 mana. You can lock it and make it permanent, or we can just maintain concentration and sustain it for however long we can sustain it without losing concentration. But that is a way to fake it. So that's fun. That's fun. And that actually hits all the marks for Ghost Walk. So far so good. We are now up to 9. We have 15 powers total. We're up to 8. So we're gonna have a little bit of leftover. Let's find out what happens here. Your association with death has become so close that you gain. And we had to let go of. We did not get the ability to ask it for an answer from a creature. We did lose that ability, but this is supposed to perfectly duplicate it. This is supposed to be, how can I just learn things this level to pretend to be a phantom for a level? This is allowing you to basically fake the mechanics of the phantom so far. Now, the phantom is obviously, those 5 features are all they ever get. So obviously they're better at using them than you are using the power system, because the power system lets me switch out phantom for assassin next level. So that versatility and that kitting ability to build a kit to optimize your action sequence and what your character does specifically, whether they're a striker, a controller, a tank, a mobility expert, a skill monkey, a diplomat. These are all things that you can kit your character into depending on what you want to do to help your team succeed, what gaps need to be filled, or what you just envision making your character. Like all the blood hunter abilities are in here, so if you wanted to play a ranger or a paladin blood hunter, you could just take out all the different features and rights that blood hunters get, and you can spend mana instead of blood for them, for instance. So we have that verisimilitude. So let's see. Num 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 num. Death Friend. Nope. Wait, we're here. That was Ghostwalker. We resolved that. Okay. Oh my God, we're on our last ability. That's cool. So let's see. Death's Friend. Your association with death has become so close that you gain the following benefits. You can, when you use your whales from the grave, you can deal necrotic damage to both the first and the second creature. Okay, whatever. And then at the end of a long rest, a soul trinket appears in your hand. If you don't have any soul trinkets at this, okay, and that's just basically giving you mana back, so that's worthless. So this is letting us do ongoing necrotic damage to both the target that we hit and another target. So that's kind of a nothing burger sort of power. It's just embellishing powers we already know. So let's see if there's something in here that's going to make more sense with that. Now that we're a higher level, if there's something cool that we can do involving necrotic damage at a higher level, either as a maneuver or as a strike, that makes more sense. I don't know, life-stealing strike. That's kind of cool. Hold on. Close quarter combat. Regenerate. Strange metabolism. Unnatural resistance. No, those are specifically locking in to the flavor. Banishing Strike's kind of cool. Tripping, thundering, relentless, restraining, poisoning, grappling. We already have the of course. Damage type. Advanced damage type necrotic. So we're always dealing necrotic damage whenever we're rolling damage to attack. So that would be Whenever, let's see, damage deals necrotic attacks using martial powers deal necrotic. There. So you're going to be able to consistently deal damage whenever you're like tripping strike or flatten. Whenever you're dealing damage to something that you're spending power points to deal damage, that damage can always be necrotic damage. That's not a bad thing to pick up. It's on theme. Let's see if there's something else that's on theme. I think maybe exploits might have something fun for us. I would say if there's a drawback to this is that it's a shitload of powers and it takes a little while to thumb through to find what you want. But honestly, the best part about 3rd edition was shopping for cool stuff. This has a lot of shopping for cool stuff, which is why I'm trying to build these kits so that people can see how things get pre-packaged together to build things for you. Empowered synergy, first strike, hypertunistic. When you make an opportunity attack, you can attack the same creature twice. That's not bad. I think I'll take that. I'll just be a pickup. What's that? 3rd rank exploit. So when I make an opportunity attack, it'll cost me 3 mana when I do it. But when I do it, I'll be able to deal necrotic damage if I choose. But beyond that, I can attack twice instead of just attacking once. And then if I'm using sneak attack, only one of those attacks can actually deal sneak attack damage because the opportunity is triggering off of the same creature's turn. But if I miss with the first attack, I have a second. So there's that going for us. I'm still trying to find a power that actually fits the bill for that 18th level power, though, even though it's going to be inexpensive. Unnerving Focus. No. Veterinary Training, Resilience. Inquisitive, Master Burglar. I mean, those are kind of givens. Field Medic. Commanding Presence. Charge, ambush. Ooh. Just picking up ambush is good. There. And I'm going to shift this guy, whether I need to or not. I'm just going to drop him down here. Okay. $12, 13, 14. So we have 3 powers left over. But we, for the most part, have fleshed out probably as close to what a Phantom does with the powers that we have. And it only technically took 8. Technically, if we didn't worry about the meta power feat to reduce the cost of Daunting Presence, and if we didn't care specifically about necrotic damage, this kit was pretty much fleshed out with 7 out of 15 powers, which is pretty damn good ratio. Right now, we're just going for bonus points. Like whenever we can pick this stuff up, we're picking it up. So, just got 3 more powers. So we just go through and flesh out something that feels ghostly, you know, death stuff. See what we have sitting inside of here. I think fear effects might be a cool idea. I like hypertunistic. That one's really fun. Oh, let's go down to the new shit that we built that hasn't been integrated into the full fold yet. And Crystal, DM section, where we're making powers for creatures. Talking about using different power paradigms. Psychic Stealth. You can make an intelligence stealth check to become undetectable while you remain still, not speaking or take any action other than using the insight or perception skill. You are considered invisible, silent, and have no scent until you do, which ends the effect immediately. In addition, your thoughts can't be detected, nor do you radiate any magic if within the area of effect of a detect magic or similar magic effects. True sight reveals your location. I just think that's fun. Taking it. It's more like a stealthy kind of infiltrator character, but I just think it's cool. I'm taking it. Spellcracker, Eldritch Retargeting, Dimensional Pounce. Ooh. When a creature within 30 feet teleports, if you can see the destination. Oh, this is different. It's cool, but it's not what I'm looking for. Charming Disposition, Inspired Skill, Mind Sight, Echo, Opportunist, Alacrity, Punishing Presence. Yeah, none of these are specifically speaking Phantom to me. Dimensional Pounces, nah. Eldritch Retargeting, when a creature within 30 feet of you is targeted by a spell or other magical effect, you can choose to change the target of the spell to another creature within 30 feet, including the creature that triggers the condition. The new target must make any saving throw, and the AC for the triggering creature to hit is the new target AC. That's not quite Phantom either. Painful Presence. Ooh. Maneuver. When you make an intimidation skill check, you can deal power dice equal to mana burned. Channeling this ability equal to mana burned to channel this ability, and psychic damage as psychic damage to the target of intimidation. Not quite Phantom. There might not be another good flavor lock, but I'm looking for it. You can become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn. You can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature, you instead end your turn in the most recently unoccupied space moved during the turn. Any attacks you make during phase deal force damage. That's actually really freaking good. So that's Exploit 2. Is that right? Oh, it's a maneuver. Got it. Really, maneuver. You become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn. Oof, okay. That's cool. Maneuver 2. All right, we got one more 20-minute burst in us, and it'll be 2 o'clock here in Seattle, and I'll be done. This is actually a better Ghostwalker than the presented Ghostwalker. We're gonna do that. And drop that down to phase 2. I'll drop that back in Ghostwalker. And I could swap out phase if I don't want it anymore for Ghostwalker as a sustained effect if I wanted to, but having the versatility of being able just to use this on the fly just for burning 2 mana ain't bad. It's great for it's great flavor for a Horizon Walker Ranger, for instance. Like, we're just building for the rogue, but the barbarian, the fire, the monk, the ranger, the paladin, the rogue, warlock, and artificer all gain access to these powers one way or another. So that's 8 out of the 13 classes that can dip into this list of powers. So when I'm building this, I'm thinking about rogue, but the same kit could be lifted and dropped onto a paladin, for instance. if I wanted to, like an ancestral paladin. That's like using the souls of his ancestors of this particular lineage to whisper secrets into his mind, or to pull him into the spirit world while he's phasing, or to use his daunting presence to keep attacks from happening against him. So these are just different things that like different ways to express it. Like as a ranger, as a horizon walker, obviously that makes a lot, like a gloomstalker, that makes a lot of these abilities make sense too. But you can swap them around each level, so you can key in on the kind of things that you want. So you have this kit for a level, and then you swap it out for the next level. So that's 13. We got one more power left. Let's see if we find something cool. Like vanish, become visible to the beginning of your next turn. That's, for 1 mana, that's great value. First strike, swift attunement, opportunistic, ride the wind. Like for 2 mana, you gain twice your movement speed as flight, and then you can feather fall at the end of it if you're not already on the ground. That's not bad. Charge, commanding presence. Natural hunter. Charlatan. Next push is die mechanics. That's not what I'm looking for. Coordinated dash, distract, flatten, goad, mobility. Target can see at 30 feet, makes charisma saving throw fail equals no reaction until succeed in the beginning of each of its next turns. Rally, swift, you can stabilize a dying creature with your touch. Nah. That's what I was looking for, by the way. The thing that stabilize. You can stabilize a dying creature with your touch. Nah. Strain, hold, vanish, lethargy, phase, lift, shunt. Illusions, nah. Curse of the Eyeless. Reduce our attack rolls, nah. Curse of the Muddled Mind. C. Concentration checks, disadvantage, nah. Cursing Brand, we know that one already. Wave of Terror. Is that phantom-y? Kind of. I think there's something that's better in here. Meticulous effort. This needs to be renamed. You can reroll any number of dice and take the higher result. One's on luck is pretty damn good. Ooh, Stolen Fate. As a reaction, this is a second rank. As a reaction to when a creature you can see within 30 feet of you makes an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw, you can curse them to roll at disadvantage. This costs 2 mana. So they roll at disadvantage. They use the lower results, and you can use the higher roll during your next turn instead of rolling for one ability check, attack roll, or saving throw. This benefit is lost if the result isn't used by the end of the next turn. That's Stolen Fate's actually pretty damn good. That's a reaction, right? Yeah, totally a reaction. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm taking that one. Reaction 4. No, it's reaction 2. Thank you. And you can always take just as a developer note, you can always take practice discipline on anything that costs 2 or more mana. Like Psychic Stealth, I could purchase Practice Discipline and drop Psychic Stealth from being a second rank exploit to a first rank exploit once I gain it at 5th level. So I could spend just a single point of mana to trigger this effect if I wanted to. So, which is actually really useful because I become invisible, silent, and scentless and undetectable with magic as long as I'm willing to stay still. That's actually a really freaking great ability. So, like, for 2 mana, it's not bad, but for 1 mana, it's insane. But it'll cost you 2 powers to cast it with 1 mana. So, that's the trade-off. All these things have that ability to trade off. Like, you can, like, Empowered Synergy, I could focus on that, spend 2 powers to drop that exploit down to only costing 1 mana. So I can always trigger as a bonus action, like like an attack on top of sustaining something, for instance. Which is super useful for a Barbarian, because Barbarians automatically lock anything that they're triggering. But this can be used before the triggering effect is completed. So I could use a bonus action to lock a sustained power on a Barbarian, but before I lock it, I can make my extra attack as a bonus action. That's actually really big value, especially if I bought it down a point. Like that's really good value. It's really good value. All right, that's our kit. We built that thing. The thing got built. That's technically donezo for the day. So if you check out the document, it's in the Patreon link down below. It's free to view. It's read-only document in Google Docs. You can click through the About page on my Patreon to dive into this document and check out all the things that we have in here. You're welcome to crawl around inside of it. It's why I made it available for people to read. And so let's see where we're at with our updates. I like doing these builds. These are fun. I could just freaking do them forever. These are all the new powers that we've come up as a result of this building process. The Punishing Presence and Alacrity, Opportunist, Echo. For the Echo Knight, we built a sustained a power that you can maintain concentration to create echoes to act as though you were an Echo Knight. That just felt like something I should have in there just to have better mechanics and better clarification of what it is than the word salad that we were given as a published release. The Mind Sight is great. Inspired Skill. We just came up with that one today in response to the Soul Coin. It also works with Lorehold with its Summoned Spirit to give you advantages on skills. Inspired Skill works there as well. Charming Disposition, we came up with that a couple weeks ago. Dimensional Pounce. Eldritch Retargeting, we have those as new reactions. Spellcracker, we came up with a couple weeks ago. Painful Presence was part of the social pillar that we were exploring. Skill checks and social circumstances. How could we use martial powers as combat options while having conversations and doing, cocktail parties? How can you use like psychic damage and stuff like that? That was a fun exploration. We came up with a number of fun social powers that like a rogue would love to dive into, or like a barbarian that's got nothing but social and psychic damage abilities. So when he's raging, he's getting triggered into a political argument or like it's like a political argument. You trigger him into it, so now he's raging and he's using all his mana to throw diplomacy, negotiation, and intimidation checks at you to cause damage to you during the conversation to the point where you pass out from fatigue. That's just fun. It's stupid, silly fun, but that's the kind of crap we can do with that. Like I could build a whole book on social combat once this gets built out, like Dimir versus Azorius. Like Dimir, Azorius, and Orzhov, the three of them, black and white, psychic energies being used in the court of law as defense counsel combat, where each lawyer has a pool of hit points, has an X amount of mana, and then they have these different powers that are available for them, so that as they're using diplomacy and like legal knowledge and like reference documents as like a specialized tool, you could be dealing damage to each other, and whoever runs out of hit points first loses the loses the law case, for instance, like as an alternate form of battle, like trial by champions. You can have combat lawyers come in and battle by words. Like that, we can do like a 5-page tear out supplement that can just completely build off of this martial power system as like verbal power or like verbal combat. But it just uses the same curve system. But like those might be things that like a bard could learn. So like a bard doesn't have access to all this crap, but the verbal combat book, maybe a bard would be able to have access. Like if you spend if you spend an inspiration die, you can channel one of these abilities using your inspiration die, for instance. It'd be really easy for us to noodle out a little book like that. And like exploration, we're gonna have to spend a couple episodes on exploration to up how exploration challenges can actually damage or incapacitate or otherwise trigger conditions onto characters that we could then curve into with powers that would augment or mitigate those risks. That's fun shit. That is fun shit. So let's see, coming up January 23rd will be our next mechanics. We've already finished that. We're always cleaning up class language. That's an ongoing thing that we have to worry about. We've already gotten some shunt mechanics and powers out of this, so I think I'm done with that for now. Great! We got through the initial subclass design challenge of 1 barbarian, 1 fighter, and 1 rogue, which we have at the bottom of the document that you can look at. So next week we'll continue cleaning up class language as we go along. Let's see what else we got. Jan 30th. Is that my calendar? Am I looking right? Six, right. So I'm setting a deadline of February 27th for this. As of February 27th, we are going to be done with this book. So that means the week of February 20th, actually February 13th. Build, let's go with build out DM notes, how to use this document. Finish the DM notes on that. So once we hand off this document to our editor, we start the book cover. And we'll have a month to finish the book cover. So we'll be spending our lunch stream catching up on where we're at with the book cover. I'm not sure how fast it's going to move because I'm still working on the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book to complete. And by March, we're going to have that back for us to drop into layouts. We also are building out the Eberron adventure for 8th level characters, Crystals of Mabar, which we streamed this morning, and we'll probably stream some more tonight. Maybe. I'm not sure what we're streaming tonight. Maybe Asteroids tonight. We might be doing Spelljammer Combat Exploration tonight, but we'll be back for sure tomorrow morning with more Eberron stuff. But I'm hoping to get the edits from both of those books back in March. So I'm going to be looking at a glut where we're going to be moving slowly with martial powers. So begins, and I'm thinking potentially May. Coming up May 10th is actually probably where we're going to be. I think that my gut tells me that's a lot more realistic. But cover starting in March, slow grind into May. I'll get the edits going. By May, both of the Spelljammer book and the Eberron book will be published. So those will be completely off my plate, which opens up my plate to bore down here on this Martial Powers book, and for us to begin further development of the squads and armies book for use with the Dragonlance adventures and board game. So that's on its way. So next week, January 30th, let's see. Continue power gear and creature samples. Build out. Let's go with clean up power language, and then there's cleaning up power language. I think the class features are sitting pretty good, but I want to take another look at them. And then the power language, and then designing unique power gear, and designing kits of powers for creatures to use. Then on the 30th, I suspect we'll be continuing creature samples and clean up power language some more, and then build out DM notes. How to use this doc. All right, this is my intended timetable for this project moving forward. So next week when we come back, we'll pick up the class language, and actually I'm going to drop these things back in priority. We're going to make power gear our highest priority, build a few pieces there, then get into the DM's toolbox and build out some more sample creature kits. And then, yeah, finish up the gear and the creature samples by the 30th. Make sure our power language is all cleaned up by then, along with our class language. And then all of February, we'll have to lay down DM notes on how to use and like how to deal with characters being able to deal psychic damage on command and shit like that. How does this balance with color mana? How does this balance with elemental key? How do you incorporate those things into campaign? A few different talking points that just makes DMs transitioning into using this content just a little bit easier. So that is our goal. So perfect timing. If this stuff is new to you, we do this each week. I develop new game mechanics. For now, 5e. I'll branch out into something else eventually once I'm done fixing how 5e works. The hubris on this guy. But yeah, I build these mechanics because there's a mechanical depth that's missing inside of 5e to make it more accessible and simple. But I think there's a lot lost in that simplification process that I want to bring back to the table for folks that know. And I want to teach it to those that don't. So here's the examples of different creature types we're going to build out. Give a beholder a bunch of powers, that's sick. Ancient Red Dragon deserving powers. Tyrannosaurus Rex getting powers. This will be fun to build out. Here's what we did with just an ogre, a CR2 ogre. So we gave him a good kit of shit, some options for reactions, powers, sustain powers, strike powers. Basically gave him He's a second rank creature. That means here's your ranks. So depending on rank the creature is Rutro. Depending on what rank the creature is depends on what's the highest rank of power they have access to, and how many potential options would they have. So like a Beholder is a fourth rank creature, so it could have up to fourth rank powers, and if we feel like it, we can offer them up to 4 exploits, 4 maneuvers, 4 reactions, 4 strikes, and it can sustain 4 powers. So that's how creatures work. Very simple, very, very easy way for you to be able to customize creatures in your game to have different flavors to them. Like if you have gnolls with double strike, they're going to feel a lot different from, say, gnolls with hexproof, for instance. So you can take the same creature and kit it out with incredibly different powers, and it's going to feel like a different creature. Kind of like what Flea Mortals is doing with MCDM, but instead of charging you $50 for a limited set, you're going to spend $20 with me and have all the tools to be able to build out all that stuff into any kind of creatures you want. Maybe we'll build a sample of a crew of goblins riding on the back of a giant spider, using our power system as actionable powers that creatures can use. And that way you could use any book, Home Field Advantage, Flea Mortals, all of KP's books, 4th edition. You can start looking at those as examples of inspiration and see how they filter into the power system for you to be able to add these ad hoc powers to creatures that your team is fighting. So that's the idea of where we're going with all this stuff. That opens the door for us to build supplements like lower powers or like undead power, and just build out additional power kits for undead creatures, for instance. Like power skeletons and power zombies, crap like that. That's the idea. So anyway, so yeah, we're doing this stuff, and this is the stuff that we do. So this is development here. You've seen me do edit cleanups on Spelljammer Combat and Exploration. You've seen me do book covers for both SJCE as well as the Eberron book. You've even seen me doing cartography with color maps for Spelljammer as well as Eberron. You've been seeing me do token production on the Spelljammer product. If you go to my Elemental Key playlist, you'll see me actually painting monk art onto the pages of the book that later became the Elemental Key supplement, which is in the DMsGuild link down below. All my books are always 100% to read. You can read them through level 1 to 20. They're all built, tested, and intended for characters to play from level 1 to 20. I, as a DM, run through 5e, a level 1 to 20 campaign in about 250 hours. I'm on my 4th campaign right now in Eberron specifically, running from level 1 to 20. My team is 17th level right now. When we finish that, we're going to start a Spelljammer campaign at level 1. And I just keep rolling through 1 to 20 campaigns every 250 hours or so. And when I finish a campaign, I take whatever's happened in the past, update it to what's happening now, and how is it relevant to what the campaign it is that we as a group decide we want to have. I update the world and then drop it in, and then we start rolling from there, do another 1 to 20 campaign, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. If I'm running a 3.5 to 4 hour game, I can typically get through that 250 hours in about 60 weeks with vacation time taken in. If I'm doing a shorter game, like a lunch stream for 90 minutes per week with my coworkers, it can take 4 years to get through it, which is what we're doing right now. We're at 17th level on a 90-minute game once per week. We just crossed over into our 4th year, so we'll finish up probably in another 6 months. It'll be done, and then we'll start the Spelljammer stuff. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing this stuff. We'll eventually get into Dragonlance. And we'll go through a conversion process of taking the board game and converting the board game into the 5e mass combat system that we've used, because everything we use is meant to be used. It's not a neat theoretical model for you to consider, does this work or not? No, we grind it. All this stuff actually works. So I encourage people to check out. You can always read it for free, and if you decide that you want me to keep building stuff in the future, hook up with me on Patreon. Buy my books on DMsGuild. That's the best way to show me that you like my work, is to buy them. Subscribe here so I can get monetized by YouTube. I need 1,000 followers. I need 4,000 hours of content consumed So just check out my stuff, stick around, follow me on Twitter so you know when I go live. Show up, have fun, shoot the shit with me. I'm looking forward to you guys hanging around, and I'm looking forward to producing more for us. So I'll see you guys this evening. I'll be on in another 5.5 hours. We're going to do some more. Maps. Might be. I don't know. It's either going to be. It's probably going to be asteroids. It'll either be an asteroid map, and we'll talk about the Neogi the Neogi Night Spider ambush scene in Light of Zaraxis. Actually, I think that's what I want to do. The ambush scene. I want to talk about that. So that's what we'll do. We're going to do asteroids tonight. In about 5.5 hours, we'll do 2 hours of the asteroid painting. And then we'll be back tomorrow morning. In 16 hours, we'll be back on tomorrow morning doing more Eberron Cemetery map like we did this morning. And I'm just going to go. I've got a day job, so I'm going to go back to my day job. And I'll see you guys on the other side. So thanks a lot for showing up. I'll see you in a bit. Bye.